Hey everyone, I'm Jon Jordan, your host for the show here, and the theater manager here at the Albert and Eunice Boscov Theater, conveniently located on the first floor of GoggleWorks Center for the Arts, right here in beautiful downtown Reading, Pennsylvania. Welcome to the January 2025 episode of At the Movies. If you're a movie lover here in the greater Reading area, this program is for you. We'll keep you up to date with some of the coolest local movie theaters offering some of the coolest programming, from new release indie titles to major blockbusters on the biggest screens around. Local film premieres, annual film festivals, and unique cinematic experiences you aren't likely to find anywhere else. We'll take you behind the scenes at some of your favorite movie theaters, showing you a side of them you've likely never seen before. And hopefully we'll introduce you to some new theaters you haven't visited yet. This month on the show, our spotlight theater is the Colonial Theatre in Phoenixville, PA. We'll talk about its history, its typical programming, and everything that makes it unique. Then we'll take a look at the month of movies ahead at all of our friendly neighborhood movie theaters, including the Boscov Theatre and Reading Movies 11 and IMAX here in Reading, the Colonial Theatre in Phoenixville, the Emmaus Theatre in Emmaus, and Shankweiler's Drive-In in Orefield. So grab your popcorn and sit back. At the Movies starts right now.
My name is Bob Trait. I'm the Director of Programming at the Colonial Theatre in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. Typical programming here at the Colonial Theatre runs a variety of films, live acts, music acts, concerts. We also do a little bit of live theater where we partner with local organizations. As far as our films go, we run classic movies every Sunday. Generally, the movie's about 40 years old. That's considered a classic now. We do have a brand new film, a new release, usually a big budget film, and then we try to run as many smaller independent films that we can acquire. Sometimes it's a one night only, sometimes it's scattered throughout the week. But generally our programming is a wide variety of a sampling of the arts. So if you're looking for, you want to watch a horror movie, you want to watch a film noir, you want to watch a classic movie from the 30s, or just want to watch the newest release like Beetlejuice or Barbie or Oppenheimer, we tend to run those films as well. What we sell at our concession stand is we actually have alcohol, we have wine, we have beer. We do a couple of local beers. We do have Sly Fox, that is a local brewery. And we do have a couple of unique drinks to the area that are not alcoholic. And as far as concession goes, we offer nachos, we have slushies. We do slushies that have a little extra kick to them for the adults. And we try to theme those around our different programming. So right now we have a green and a pink slushie for Wicked. Here at the Colonial Theatre, we have 3 screens. We have our original 1903 theater, which seats 592 patrons. That's the theater that's actually seen in the block. The theater that I'm sitting in right now is our Barry Theater. It seats 61, and our White Rabbit Theater seats 154. Each theater is unique, it's different, but what sets the 1903 theater apart from many theaters in the country is that we have a Wurlitzer pipe organ, and we do have live shows of just music, but we also do silent films and a silent film festival. We also have a 35 millimeter projector. So we are one theater in 17 in Pennsylvania that can actually project 35 millimeter. So we have a 24-hour 35 millimeter horror-thon. We also have an exploitation fest where it's all exploitation films for 12 straight hours, all on film. And we generally run most of our horror programming on 35 millimeter. Now, there are times where it's only available on 35. And that creates an interesting opportunity for us to showcase movies like Sleepy Hollow or Gremlins 2 or That Thing You Do, because you can only get those on 35 millimeter. The 1903 theater is named after when the building was built. Now, some say it's 1902, but there was a big fire, so we don't actually know. So the keystone outside says 1903. The White Rabbit is named after a donator. They wanted to name the theater the White Rabbit Theater, even though it's blue. And the Berry Theater is named after the Berry family, even though it's red. So that one kind of works out. That's how they get their names. Our projection rooms here at the Colonial Theatre are very separate. We have 3 different ones. The theater I'm sitting in now has a 2K projector, but the room is so small and so condensed that it really has a vibrant picture, and the sound down here is amazing. But our projection room is literally right over my shoulder. Not very fancy at all, just a lot of computers and hard drives. In Theater 2, we also have a 2K projector, and that's a little bit of a more interesting room because we actually have a Laserdisc player that we're setting up for Laserdisc shows now, and it's a little bit more of a Swiss Army knife where we can kind of move things around and try different things. So we can plug in a MacBook and run a filmmaker's film that way if need be. And we do 16 millimeter in the theater that I'm sitting in now, which is great, but we're actually looking at doing 16 millimeter up there as well, because the throw, which is how far the projector has to put it up on screen, isn't that far. However, in our projection room in the 1903 theater, we have the original 35 millimeter projectors from the block. Now they've been, rebuilt pieces, but they are in the exact locations that they were before. We have a 2K projector up there, and we're actually having a campaign right now to raise money for a 4K projector, so that we can actually start projecting a lot of the Janus films and restorations in 4K so that they actually look as good as possible. That room up there is a Frankenstein room of old tech, new tech, wires running everywhere, 35 millimeter cans sitting around. It's very, very different. It's the room everybody wants to see. Everything here looks like a closet with hard drives. Theater 2 and Theater 3, but Theater 1 is definitely a throwback to another time. So the history of the Colonial Theatre is it's interesting, it's long, and unfortunately there are lots of big gaps in our history because we currently are a non-profit theater. So when we were a for-profit theater, a lot of those records don't get passed. And unfortunately too, there was also a giant fire where a lot of records, not in our organization, but in the county, were destroyed, newspapers and those kind of things. So I can tell you that construction began in 1902. The theater opened in 1903 as a vaudeville theater. Sometime around 1908, we had our first film. And then by 1915, we had our first talkie. And that was a movie with sound. So to jump, we do have like the war years and World War II. We were a full theater. There were actually 3 theaters in Phoenixville during World War II. We are the last theater standing. But our theater became famous in 1957 when Jack Harris was here with Valley Forge Films filming The Blob over at Yellow Springs at their production studios and things. But he came here because he needed to do dailies. They were watching the dailies every day. And they were like, well, we need one more location. So they offered the price of $75 to film here for 3 days, which was insulting. They were like, $75? I mean, this is going to be a movie and everything. But that $75 has created this mystique, this history of people that want to come and see the movie that Steve McQueen fights the Blob. So we're here. So in 58, the movie came out. And as far, in 1978, they were celebrating the 20th anniversary when the theater, it did shut down for a bit and then it reopened. Some very enterprising young individuals wanted to keep the theater going. There was talk of it becoming a curtain warehouse, but they got it back up and running. They were doing live theater, they were doing movies, but when Phoenixville itself, the town, the steel mill closed in 1987, the entire town's like industry, just everything left. All the businesses left, a lot of the people left. So in 1996, the Association for the Colonial Theatre was created, and a group of individuals decided they were going to keep the theater, they were going to reopen the theater, get it back up and running. You couldn't walk in here without a hard hat, as I've been told the first couple of years, until they actually got the theater open in 1999. And they started, their first movie was Run, Lola, Run, which is fitting because it's about a woman who has to keep waking herself back up and keep trying again and again until she gets it right. So it's a very fitting tale and a very great first movie to show. And we only had a 35 millimeter film projector until 2009, where we had finally got a digital projector and we were able to do more films. But in 99, that first year, that summer of 2000, somebody said you should show The Blob. And they were like, yeah, it's a great idea. Let's show The Blob. And then that eventually became our Blob Fest, where every summer we would show The Blob, and we just celebrated our 25th year. So our history is kind of very strange and mysterious at times. There's a lot on our website, and we're actually trying to make it, more precise. Did we open in 1902? Was it really 1903? So there's little things like that about our history that make it fascinating to work here, because there's always somebody that comes in and says, I worked here as a kid. The concession stand used to be over there. And then they can tell us stories. But unfortunately, nobody seems to have pictures from that era. So we have to rely on old newspaper clippings that we get, or day bills that say we actually showed Dumbo, that we actually found in the attic. We found a box of day bills up in the attic, and we knew all the movies we showed for like 2 years, from 41 to 42. So it's interesting, and our history is it's clouded at times, but as we are now, we try to keep our history moving forward and looking back as much as we can, and recording as much as we can find. So sometime around 2009, we bought the building next door to the 1903 theater, which was a bank and a newspaper. And as I've been told, the room I'm sitting in used to be a coffee shop. The room behind us, which is our theater, our second theater, was a bowling alley. So the hodgepodge of pipes and framework and everything were very difficult. But by 2018, we had the building remodeled. It was set. It was to be 2 theaters. What makes the Colonial Theatre unique is that we really do have something for everybody. We have numerous live acts. We have an improv group that's here every month. We do have dance shows. We have concerts. We have cover bands, but we also have a lot of live acts. And we are trying to do more comedians, and we try to appeal to everybody in the area as much as we can. So if you really like to watch classic cinema, we do the movies. We do Casablanca every year. We try to spotlight Alfred Hitchcock. But as new movies go, we try to get the new movie that everybody really wants to see. But then we're also looking at what the smaller independent studios are releasing. So we really want to highlight cinema in general, but it's the arts overall is what we're reaching for. So, we have a Christmas show every year that involves a local dance group, and they put on this huge show. We rent out our theater space, our 1903 theater space, to the Firebird Theater, and they put on performances, children's performances for 2 times a year. So we really are embracing the arts themselves, and we are a community of people who like to sit around and talk about movies afterwards. Who you become friends with these people, like the 3rd or 4th movie, and then you're in town having drinks before you go to the movie. Another unique aspect of the Colonial is most of the residents in town have moved here because of the theater. It is our heartbeat to our community, and all the organizations around it thrive. Because we have a dance show of 300 kids, they're going to have to eat across the street, and we have the restaurants now to do that. We did not have that in 1999. There were no restaurants. There was, a soda fountain store, drugstore that couldn't believe it still exists. Does not exist to this day, but now we have numerous breweries, numerous restaurants up and down the street. We have record stores, we have gift shops, we have all kinds of great places for the community to actually spend some time here before they actually go to an event, before they go to a film. And a lot of our partners in the area have recognized that without us, there really is no Phoenixville. So it makes us unique in a lot of ways, that we are kind of like the driving force to keeping the town open. And as more and more people move here, they're discovering our great community treasure. But since the pandemic, and we had 4 virtual events, we've noticed that we are a little bit more now on a global scale. We are one of the top 5 destinations for horror films in the country, according to Box Office Pro. We were in the New York Times for Blobfest this year, so that was great to actually have the New York Times themselves here cover the event. So we're starting to realize that outside of our little area, we have people coming from Ottawa, Canada, Texas, Rhode Island. We have a patron come from England for a 24-hour horror-thon. So we have to realize that we're a little bit more than Phoenixville now. We're actually operating on a much larger scale. It creates an interesting aspect to the Colonial.
The Colonial Theatre in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania is our spotlight theater for the month of January 2025. I do also want to note that the Colonial Theatre is currently fundraising for a new 4K projector in their historic 1903 theater. If you're financially able and would like to help this historic nonprofit movie theater reach their goal, visit thecolonialtheatre.com and look for their Moving Pictures Match campaign to make a donation. With that said, be sure to tune in here to At the Movies every month for a behind-the-scenes look at one of our participating theaters. Now let's take a look at all of our friendly neighborhood movie theaters to see what kinds of programming they've got coming up this month. In January 2025 at the Boscov Theater at GoggleWorks Center for the Arts in Reading, PA, it's award season once again, and we're cramming in some heavy hitters. Opening Friday, January 3rd, we've got the Sony Pictures Classics drama, The Outrun, which plays daily from the 3rd through the 8th. Opening Friday, January 10th, we've got Conclave from Focus Features. Conclave will play daily from the 10th through the 15th. Then on Friday, January 17th, we open A Real Pain from Searchlight Pictures, starring Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin. For me personally, this was my absolute favorite film of 2024, so if you haven't seen it yet, it plays at the Boscov Theater daily from the 17th through the 22nd. Don't miss it. Opening nationwide on Friday, January 24th, we'll be playing Brave the Dark, the latest film based on a true story from Angel Studios. This one not only looks like a great story, but also takes place nearby in Lancaster County, which is pretty cool. Brave the Dark will play daily from the 24th through the 29th. Finally, opening Friday, January 31st, we've got Sing Sing from A24, featuring an award-garnering lead performance by Coleman Domingo. Another heavily praised, award-winning film, Sing Sing will play daily Friday, January 31st through February 5th. We've also got some special event screenings sprinkled in throughout the month, including a local film screening. See Flashlight, produced right here in Reading and directed by Justin Patrick Lander, back on the big screen for one night only on Friday, January 17th. Not only will you get to see the feature film, Flashlight, but also the filmmaker's earlier short film titled American Standard. The screening will also include a special Q&A session afterwards with the filmmaker and the film's producer, Santo Marabella. Tickets are just $10, so don't miss out. Support local filmmaking here in Reading on Friday, January 17th at 7 p.m. Also this month, we kick off Director Fest Steven Spielberg 2. Steven Spielberg is my personal favorite director, but he's also perhaps the most iconic filmmaker of all time. In January 2024, we did a spotlight of his work for the first ever Director Fest series, and it still stands as the most well-attended series of the year. So, we're kicking off the new year with a fresh batch of iconic Spielberg flicks, including Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom from 1984, playing Thursday, January 9th, with limited screenings throughout the weekend. The Color Purple from 1985, in the year marking its 40th anniversary, playing Thursday, January 16th, with limited encore screenings throughout that weekend. And Close Encounters of the Third Kind from 1977, playing Thursday, January 23rd, with limited encore screenings throughout that weekend. And that's January 2025 at the Boscov Theater. You can always find our complete schedule of upcoming films and events and purchase tickets in advance at GoggleWorks.org. We can't wait to see you this month at the movies. At Reading Movies 11 and IMAX in Reading this month, they've got a long list of films that are now playing, including Wicked and the Wicked sing-along version, Moana 2, Mufasa, Sonic 3, A Complete Unknown, The Fire Inside, Nosferatu, and Baby Girl. There are also a number of new films rolling out this month, including Den of Thieves 2, Wolfman, One of Them Days, September 5th, Brave the Dark, Flight Risk, Dogman, and Companion. They've also got some special screenings this month, including El Heredero, a Dominican film opening on January 17th, and the Met Opera Aida opening at the end of the month. Finally, some special notes from Reading Movies 11 and IMAX for the month of January 2025. Headphones are now available for purchase at the theater for use with the Theater Ears app, allowing patrons to listen to their movies in Spanish. They're also rolling out their new and improved RC Theaters Rewards program on January 3rd, just in time for National Popcorn Day on January 19th, where program members can receive double points on any popcorn or combo purchases. To buy tickets in advance and to see their complete lineup of upcoming films and events, visit rctheaters.com. At the Colonial Theatre in Phoenixville this month, they're kicking off Marvel Saturdays. Every Saturday throughout the month, they'll be playing a different Marvel movie, including Iron Man 3 on Saturday, January 4th, Doctor Strange on Saturday, January 11th, Guardians of the Galaxy on Saturday, January 18th, Thor Ragnarok on Saturday, January 25th, and Black Panther on Saturday, February 1st. To buy tickets in advance and to see their complete lineup of upcoming films and events, visit thecolonialtheatre.com. At Shankweiler's Drive-In in Orefield this month, come out to experience their big annual winter double feature of The Thing and The Shining. The iconic double feature starts at 6 p.m. each night, all weekend long, from Thursday, January 9th through Sunday, January 12th. The Saturday, January 11th screening is the big one, though, which the theater owners especially recommend getting tickets to if you're traveling a distance to attend. To buy tickets in advance and to see their complete lineup of upcoming films and events, visit shankweilers.com. For upcoming movies and events at the Emmaus Theater in Emmaus, visit emmaustheater.com. And while they are currently closed for the winter, I still want to mention the Mahoning Drive-In in Lehighton, PA. Their season is right around the corner, so keep an eye on their website at mahoningdit.com for when they start to list their schedule for the spring and summer months.
Thanks so much for tuning into this month's episode of At the Movies. Get out there this month, support your local movie theaters, and experience some incredible new movies. Whether they're new releases or they're just new to you, the way they were meant to be experienced. With fresh popcorn in a distraction-free environment and on a massive silver screen. If you discovered this program through BCTV, whether you're watching it on bctv.org or on BCTV's live telecast, consider supporting them at bctv.org/support. BCTV is Berks County's local nonprofit community media organization that enables programs like this one to reach and inform more people in our community. Until next month, I'm Jon Jordan, and I hope to see you at the movies.
What's my favorite movie? It's very difficult to put that into words. Like I now we have Letterboxd, so you have to put 4 up. You know, it's different. It's difficult. It's moody. It can change. During the pandemic, I was asked that question on an interview, and they said, "What are your pandemic movies?" And I was like, "Oh, Ed Wood, Saturday Night Fever, and Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan." And the interviewer was like, "Wow, those are all depressing." And I was like, "Yeah, but it makes me feel better about myself." It's always difficult because I have the two that are very difficult for me to differentiate. So it depends on the year, I guess. But Casablanca is by far, I think, my favorite film, followed very closely by The Empire Strikes Back. Which is very different, in its sense. But as Casablanca goes, I have seen it on the big screen numerous times. I had was fortunate to see it here at the Colonial on the big screen, but it was not the first time I ever saw it on the big screen. It was actually in Reading at the Carmike Cinema 8. They had a new theater. And three of the screens the weekend they opened were dedicated to repertory films. Wizard of Oz, Casablanca, and I believe Citizen Kane was the other one. And a friend of mine could not fathom why I would want to go see Casablanca. And afterwards he said, "Now I know why you wanted to see it." So to see it for him the first time that way, big, was one of the key factors to me realizing the power of seeing a movie in a theater big for the first time, or even to see it that big for the first time. So I've seen Casablanca in LA. I've seen it here at the Colonial numerous times, and it's actually become an annual screening now. My argument is there's always 200 people that come to see Casablanca, and what I love about it is the people who cry, the people who sing for Les Massés. It's those moments that it's more than just a movie. It's saying something. And it's funny that it's saying something then, and it's still saying something now. So that's probably why I think Casablanca is my all-time favorite film. It's tough because I love Star Wars a lot, and Empire Strikes Back is my favorite Star Wars movie. So it's very difficult. But yeah, Casablanca is probably my all-time favorite film.